Hi guys, Neil Tappin here from Golf Monthly. In this video we are looking at drivers, in particular both ends of the price spectrum. So we've got the Slazenger P500 and the TaylorMade M3. The Slazenger P500 has an RRP of $199, however it is available on the Sports Direct website for $49.99. So this one you'd be able to get for £50, and the M3 has an RRP of $479. So there's obviously a big difference in price between these two drivers. What we wanted to do was put the two up against each other on the launch monitor and see what those differences are in terms of actual performance. Now, before I get on to the launch monitor data and how we did the test, just firstly, a quick word on the looks. Now, if you've seen the videos that we've put together on the M3, you'll know that I'm a really big fan of the looks of the M3. I think from the address view, it's been refined, it looks really high-tech, it looks really modern, it's got a classic shape, but it's a modern, high-tech look. And the shelf appeal of this golf club, I think, is superb. The wide track system they've brought into the bottom and the colour scheme, it just looks like a fantastic driver to me. I think this is the best looking driver on the market. And then you have the P500, which is a really simple driver. I think actually what Slazenger have done here is they've produced something that is totally inoffensive. So for £50, you're not expecting the world. You're not expecting the best looking driver on the market. What you want is something that's really simple, classic, nice shape to look down on. And Slazenger have delivered that. I think the matte finish they've given this driver is really good. It's really smart. And there's absolutely nothing that would put you off this driver. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't look as good as the M3, but you wouldn't expect it to. It looks good enough, for sure. It definitely looks good for a driver that's only £50. Of course, where we would expect the biggest differences would be on a launch monitor. So I started by hitting shots with the M3, with the shaft that I was fitted for, this Aldila Rogue X-Flex shaft, and the performance was really strong. So 163 ball speed is fast, 2028 spin is about right for me. And when you couple that spin with the fact that it was launching at 13.6 degrees, the average distance was really impressive. So it was coming out with a carry distance of 287. So really strong performance from the M3. So then I hit the Slazenger driver, and we were given this driver with a regular shaft in it, which wouldn't be right for me. But so I hit some shots with that in that setup, and the first thing I noticed was that at address, the P500 does point a little bit left. Now that is for those players who suffer with a bit of a slice, just to help straighten up that ball flight, just to give them a little bit more confidence. But for me, I found it really off-putting. And you'll notice, I'll put the range view down for these. I struggled with dispersion and I hit the ball quite a long way right, just because I was worried about hitting it straight left. So that was something that I really struggled with. Having said that, the performance is actually pretty good. So 160 ball speed is pretty good. Launching a little bit lower than I was launching it with the M3 at 11.5, spinning a little bit less, and the overall carry distance was 278. So I'd say it's a pretty solid performance, but I did struggle a little bit with dispersion. So then I put the same Aldila Rogue shaft that's in the M3 into the Slazenger driver, and by setting the drivers up as close as I could possibly get them to each other, seeing what the performance differences were when I did that. And the performance did improve. So the ball speed was actually a 1 mile an hour less, and it was spinning also a little bit less at 1675. The carry was a little bit less at 279, but take a look at the dispersion. You're looking at the yellow dots here. The P500, the dispersion is a lot tighter. When I put the Aldila shaft in, it just felt a little bit more confidence inspiring. As you can see there are some really good shots in there in terms of their carry distance, and the dispersion isn't too bad at all. So for a driver head that sits at that sort of bottom end of the price spectrum, the performance was really good, albeit it did have a premium shaft put into it. Now there is one other thing to mention here. With the M3, what you do have is that extra adjustability, so that ability to dial in the sort of shot shape that you're looking for. Now I'm a player that is always slightly worried about hitting it left, hitting a hook with a driver. And I like my driver to be set up with a slight fade bias. That's what I did. In the M3, I put it into the fade bias position, kept the weight in the middle of the club because the spin profile was pretty good. Whilst I wasn't really getting any extra distance, look at the dispersion down the range, the red dots that you're looking at, there's a little bit of a tighter cluster, and I think that would make a really big difference to me out on the golf course. Okay, so a couple of other things worth mentioning. Firstly, the Slazenger P500 is only available in that regular shaft version that they sent to me. If you are a faster swinger, be wary of that. Even if you're looking for something that's at the bottom end of the price spectrum, just be wary of the fact that it's only available in a regular shaft. If you're sort of a medium or slow swinger, it should be fine, but just be careful if you're a faster swinger. The other thing is the feel, and I think that was the biggest difference I noted between the two drivers. So the TaylorMade has a really, you can tell it's been really refined. It's taken all the research and development that TaylorMade have put in over the years. They really refined the feel. It sounds so solid at impact. It's really powerful sound and feel through the ball. The Slazenger doesn't have that. It's a louder impact sound. It doesn't have that same powerful feel that you get at impact with the TaylorMade. As soon as you hit balls on the range with it, you'll notice the sound is quite high pitched, it's pretty loud, and for me it didn't really feel anywhere near as good as the TaylorMade. Having said all of those things, you're not going to have everything for £50. You're not going to have the same level of performance that you get in a driver like the TaylorMade M3 with something that's just £50, but the performance is solid. The distance is good, the flight was pretty good, and the dispersion, whilst I struggled with the dispersion, if you are somebody that suffers with a slice, it is geared up to help you. So you might well find that you're able to hit a few more fairways with it. So the P500 from Slazenger is a really solid driver that comes in at a really good price point. The TaylorMade M3 has all the bells and whistles that better players certainly are going to benefit from and going to be able to use. How much do you spend on a driver? Leave comments below. What do you think about the M3 versus the P500? Would you be tempted to give this a go? Leave comments below. But from here, from Stream Song for now, it's goodbye.